Welcome to Cubalaya Outfitters. Today I'm going to be doing two videos. The first one is going to be switching the retrieval on the Fairchase G2 and also just removing the spool if you are putting backing on the reel, or if for any reason you ever need to get the spool off. It's going to be a quick little tutorial on how to do that. It's a little different from the 6/8 and the 9/12. If you have a 6/8 or a 9/12 and you're looking for the video on that, visit our YouTube channel for those videos on disassembly and servicing. But this is specific to the G2. It's a little different. I'm going to show you right now how to get the spool off. It's pretty simple. The center cap is held on by an O-ring, which you can just literally twist off at an angle. So if you lift up one side, it should come up and off. If it gets a little tight, which it may, do not grab it with the pliers. You can just go ahead and use a towel or anything like this and grab it and lift. It'll come up one side at a time. You'll see there's a black O-ring down on the face of the spool. You'll also notice this collar, and this collar is what holds the spool onto the frame. It has a little set screw right in the side of it here. And this set screw only requires a little bit of force to tighten and to remove. So I've supplied a 1.5 millimeter Allen key in your little bag in the box. And all you have to do with that is simply put it in the set screw, rotate it a little bit, and this collar, as you can see, will lift up. I like to leave the Allen key in there if you can, because that just makes it easy to reassemble, because you don't have to find the slot again. But at this point, the spool will simply lift off of the bearing race. Keep a couple things in mind. We've added some inbound clickers, which use these detents and springs that are in the back of the spool. They're pretty well greased and they should stay in place, but just so you are aware they're there, try not to knock them out. From there, it's pretty simple. We've got the inside of the reel, as you can see. This is our bearing race and bearing, and that will slide off the shaft. You may have to rotate it a little bit because it is a one-way directional bearing. Rotate it in the way it spins freely to remove it. In this case, this was set up for left-hand retrieve. All we're going to do, flip the bearing over and then put it back on. Make sure this washer stays in place. That's critical for reassembly. And then as you put this bearing back on, rotate it in the direction it's going to be going. It should slip right down and sit down tight. If everything's working, it should hold and click in one direction. And then the direction of retrieval, which in this case will be right hand, it should rotate freely. Reassembling, pretty simple. There's flat spots on the side of the bearing race, which you'll notice. And there's also flat spots inside the spool. So if you just eyeball those and bring them together, I'll try and show you on the video a little better. Just watching those, we can just simply look, keep an eye on those spring detents, and when you get down right to this, about make contact there, just push it straight and it should go right down on there. And then when it's together, this will be pretty flush with the clicker gear in there, as you can see. So from there, I just like to keep this all assembled, keep it pushed down just a little bit, and then we just simply put our collar back on. Doesn't matter the orientation, just set it down on the, I dropped the Allen key like I told you not to, but anyway, set it down on there. It doesn't take much pressure, so as long as the spool's down, and you just hold the collar down ever so slightly, and just a little bit of force on the Allen key. Don't over tighten it, there's no reason to. This will go back together nicely, and it'll spin in the direction of retrieval and click on the outbound. At that point, you're pretty much done other than putting the cap on. But I just like to check and make sure. It'll have a little bit of wiggle in it, a little bit of play, not much. If it's too tight on the retrieval, you can go ahead and just loosen the collar and raise it up ever so slightly. You don't want too much play in there. You want it to be pretty much riding on that bushing. But that's it. That's how you change the direction of retrieval. And if you wanted to pull the spool off to do any line loading, Putting the cap on is simple. Again, it's an O-ring. Just keep an eye, look at it, make sure you don't push the O-ring off, but it should just gently go on. Give it a little wiggle to make sure it's held in place. It should rotate a little bit, and that's it. You've completed the removal and installation of the spool, and this will help you with flipping the bearing over. If you want to see anything further on servicing this and breaking it down further, I have another video on YouTube you can go ahead and find, and that will go through all the steps of complete disassembly, greasing, and any other pointers in terms of maintaining the reel. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or reach out to us by email or by calling us. You can find us on the web at CubalayaOutfitters.com.